What's going on, guys? If you watched earlier this week and you saw that we tried to do the podcast live, there's a storm coming through and the Wi-Fi isn't working. So if you watch, you probably saw that. We're gonna try and do a recording right now and post it later this week. I guess you'd be watching it right now. So it is later this week. But I'm joined tonight by John Soukup. Really excited to have him on the podcast. Tried to do it earlier this week, but we're going to go ahead and get him on here. Welcome, John Soukup, the Underdog. What's going on, man?
Hey, all right, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we're good. We're good. Yeah, just bouncing back from the technical difficulties, but we're going to make it through. We're going to make it. How's it going? How's it going?
Man, I'm doing great. Getting ready off season. Season's coming up real strong. 3 weeks in PFL, 5 weeks to an elite, and I've got a lot of ducks I got to get in a row before then to make sure that I'm ready to fish. I don't have a boat ready. I don't even have a boat built yet, let alone wrapped or rigged or any of that stuff. And that's a little bit unsettling, but honestly, it's kind of par for the course for me. I've never had a boat rigged and ready like in November like some of these guys, and maybe that's just a part about becoming a more established pro that you get those privileges. You get kind of pushed to the top of the list instead of the bottom of the list and stuff like that. So it's what it is. Got a boat coming in, and pretty excited about that. Otherwise, I probably just, if I don't have it in time, I'll probably just roll out one of my old boats.
Yeah,
For the first
for
event
sure.
of the year.
Do you have your boat from last season still?
I've got my last season. I had an express boat, and so that's an aluminum boat, right? And this
Yep.
year I'm going to a fiberglass boat. I'm going to run a Blazer. It's nothing
Blazer.
that I've really made public or made an announcement or anything like that. So I haven't got it in yet. But the tricky part about that is in the NPFL, there's no rules against. Earlier in the season, I actually had an offer to go to a fiberglass boat, and I didn't take it partially because um, you couldn't switch from an aluminum to a fiberglass boat per Bass rules. So even though I actually called and asked, had nothing to do with like wanting to get an advantage or anything like that. Like literally, it just had to do with getting paid, sponsorships and stuff. So this season, I have to have my fiberglass boat by the first Bass Elite event,
Gotcha.
or sure won't be running an Express Elite. I'll borrow a boat before I run an aluminum.
Gotcha. So, man, that's kind of I've never heard of that. You weren't so in PFL. It doesn't matter, but Bass you can't swap in the middle of the season.
Yeah, so you're a little young, but you got some studied on some bass history. If you're unfamiliar with this, go back to the Dardanelle Bassmaster event that Mark Menendez won, and he won it using a little bitty aluminum, like a 19. I don't know exactly what it was, but he actually went underneath a roadway there, and he actually ended up moving rocks by hand, and the water was falling, and it was harder for him to get in. But the only way he was able to get in, not tear his boat up, was to go in with an aluminum boat, and he just used it for that one season. And I think that might have been one of the straws that broke the camel's back for bass, to where they made that rule where you can't switch from one form of a boat to another to gain an advantage based on your boat build from one event to the next.
Gotcha.
That was one of many different things that had happened, over the evolution of time. They went from, no jet boats, where at one point you could use jet drive boats. And there was a bunch of guys on the Arkansas River in Oklahoma that were running way up the river. And I think, even in the opens, it was allowed up to Ott Defoe running and winning some tournaments. So, maybe my history's not perfectly accurate, but there's some facts there that I know that are factual there, that have kind of over time caused these rules to go into effect.
Makes sense. Yeah, never knew that. But I guess I can see where it would definitely make sense not be able to swap. But yeah. Oh man, you're froze.
You're froze, not me.
Was I really?
Yeah.
Oh man. Here we go again. All right. I think it's okay. We can deal with it. I can edit it out too, so that helps.
We'll just keep on chopping.
Yeah. So John, where are you from? What part of I guess you're in the United States, I hope.
Well, I'm definitely not Canadian. I went further south. I'm actually Mexican. I'm down in the heart of Mexico City right now. No,
Really?
I'm just kidding. No,
Wow.
not at
Okay.
all.
So you got hey, that wouldn't be too much of a bad thing. You'd be El Salto and
No
Falcon and
kidding.
all those good lakes.
No kidding. Uh, Actually, doing Bass Nation stuff back in the day, I used to love when the Mexican champion would come up. A lot of times they qualified, just didn't have the means to make it up and
Really?
fish. So they got a lot of bass fishing down there. It's really fun. Yeah, no, but I'm in Tulsa, Oklahoma, is where
Tulsa,
my home.
Oklahoma.
Yeah, yeah,
Gotcha. So is that where your business is gonna be located?
yep. We're gonna be out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. Sapulpa, Oklahoma is where we're at, which is just a
Okay,
suburb of Tulsa. Mhm.
I gotcha. So I know we kind of talked about it when we tried to do the live podcast, but kind of tell us about
Yeah,
what your business is going to be, or give us a rundown.
I say more outdoors is an overstock and liquidated items outdoor store. So we have a large fishing selection to start with. I'm not going to go in there and do 10,000 different SKUs and items and stuff. I'm going to kind of, as I get good deals, I'll pass them on to the consumers. So you can go to savemoreoutdoors.com and see all the different fishing gear and get extreme discount pricing to the public is available to us now. But the other thing that we're doing is actually working directly with tackle shops, tackle stores, whether big or small, all the way down to gas stations that are carrying tackle, and we're able to provide products to them, wholesale products to them, which is my actual preferred method of business, is to wholesale these items out in bigger, bulkier purchases versus the one-off retailer stuff. But we're doing both and excited to do both.
Sweet, yeah. I will say some of the best tackle is found at a gas station. The at the last turn before you get to the boat ramp.
Yeah, yeah,
There's some good gas station tackle shops. It's like a one
yeah,
stop shop right before you hit the lake.
yeah.
So living in Tulsa, I really don't know anything about Oklahoma, but what would be your home lake or lake closest to you?
I don't really have a home lake, but the lakes that you're going to be familiar with are where you got the Bassmaster Classic that's been multiple times, going to be here again in 2024. So
Yep.
I'm about 20 minutes away from the BOK Arena where the weigh-in's going to be at. Fun fact, I'm actually a tile setter by trade, and I set the tile in the BOK Arena and the carpet in the Expo Center.
Really?
So, yeah, so everybody's going to go in there and they're going to pee all over my work at the urinals.
Yeah.
So I'm used
No
to it.
way.
You'd think I'd be
Yeah.
able to take some of the beatings in the fishing world, but I got sensitive in my old age. So,
Yeah.
yeah, no. So, you follow Oklahoma, which a lot of the Opens have gone there, and then the
Yep.
NPFL's gone there, and that is my favorite tournament lake. I've had the most success there, constantly winning in top tens on the Eufaula, Oklahoma. I don't know what it is. It's just me and old Eufaula. We're like a good couple, man. We just get along real well.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I've never actually been to Eufaula. I might be fishing a tournament there here in like a month or so. I'm still thinking about it. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of tournaments out there and some good bags that get caught. It seems like a good healthy lake for sure. I can see
it's
why it'd be a good one for you.
it's really good in the springtime. And Oklahoma's known for a lot of 20-pound bags. And people are like, okay, well, there's 20-pound bags everywhere. But the difference about Oklahoma is you'll have lakes where like 21 pounds will win, and the big fish will be 4.5 pounds, maybe a five. And so, like, it's just lots of 4-pounders, lots of
Yeah.
threes and fours, and occasional five. And so, it's pretty neat when you have lakes that 20 plus 20-pound sacks will come in, and like I said, a big fish. There's big. I've caught 7-pounders, and you follow them. I mean, it's occasional 7-pounder caught for big fish, but Oklahoma in general, you can win big fish with a 5 or 6-pounder sometimes.
Yeah.
And so it's just not like a Florida where there's a lot of ones and a little bit of twos, and all of a sudden, boom, a 10. It's just
Right.
not. It's built the complete opposite.
Yeah. A lot of quality just all throughout the spectrum.
Yeah, there's a lot of turbidity in the water, and there's a lot of nutrients, a lot of dirty water, a lot of nutrients in there that allow for like crappie and so the bass are mostly northern strain, so which means they feed a lot more, in my opinion, off of their lateral lines and off a lot more aggressive behavior. They got a tendency to because of the dirty water to be shallower next to cover up in the shallow. So, your kicker blade, orange kicker blade spinnerbait that came from people think it came from Grand Lake. I believe it came more from Eufaula being like the best in the world. And so that's where a lot of your shallow water power fishermen come from. If you know someone from Oklahoma that's done any well at the national level, especially old school guys, they are spinnerbait fishermen, jig fishermen, and that's about it. Those two things, jig
Yeah.
fishermen. I mean, and we can name names. You know, we can talk about Jimmy Houston's and the Jason Christie's and the Edwin Evers, and you know these guys. They learn all these other techniques as they expand outside of Oklahoma. But if you talk to them, man, they're shallow water fishermen at heart, and I'm the same way, man. I love to get shallow and get dirty. That's what I love to do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a fun way of fishing. And especially if you can get good at it too. I love doing it. I'm just not the best at it. Definitely something you got to work on like anything, but it's fun when they're biting. No doubt. So I'm definitely gonna have to make a trip down to Eufaula, or I guess kind of up, but um that'd be a fun one. What would you say is your favorite turn other than Eufaula? What was your favorite tournament like?
Hmm. Hmm.
Give us like a smallmouth lake and like a largemouth lake.
I'm gonna go with Harris Chain in Florida.
Okay.
Um, it's like you follow Oklahoma. She's been good to me no matter how bad I've talked to her. She's always sweet to me no matter how bad. Whatever I say to her, I've won an NPFL and I've top 10. I got a third at an open there. And those are my two. And I fished the national championship there in like '09, which I only finished like 30th or something. But I was a younger fisherman and not as skilled as I am now. So, but that was like my first national level um, tournament was the Bass Nation National Championship on Harris Chain. I think it was like '09. So how old would that have made you at that time? So like
I
it
was
was
three.
I was you were three. So
Yeah.
it was going through a downturn at that time, but it's a memorable spot. You know, I have that good memories. You know,
Yeah.
there. So I
For
would say
sure.
Harris Chain is one of my favorite. And then if I was to go north, man, I'll be honest with you, I'm gonna go with Saginaw Bay.
Okay.
Gonna go with Saginaw Bay, and I'm gonna talk about the bass fishing, that largemouth fishing. You know, the way that real men fish, where they when they fish for greenfish,
Yep.
not when they pick up those little egg beaters and go fish for the brownfish. So I like the Saginaw. There's some old video of me, you know, up in like 6 inches of water, flipping the reeds and setting the hook with 60-pound, 25-pound fluorocarbon and boat flipping fish, and I
Oh yeah.
love that style of fishing. Now, I love smallmouth fishing. You know, I'm just teasing about that. I just haven't perfected it yet, and it's going to be necessary this year for me to perfect it. Our last two events are Champlain and St. Lawrence, and both of those are just tremendous, amazing fisheries. I will say Champlain, when I pre-fished it a month before the tournament, was probably my favorite smallmouth fishing that I've ever done.
Really?
So yeah, it was. I hit it just when it was pre-spawn, some little bit of post-spawners. So there's fish staging that were both pre and post, and they were 6 foot or less, and up in
Yeah.
the flats and stuff. And it just seemed like there was just hundreds of smallmouth everywhere, and 3 and 4 pounders were just everywhere, and that was pretty cool.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You can't beat that. Smallmouth and shallow water. It's a good time. Saginaw Bay. I swear it gets brought up every podcast.
Really?
Saginaw, yeah, because we
Yeah.
fished there in high school for Bassmaster Opens, and we're going there in June this year. But
Huh.
yeah,
The
it always
NPFL goes back there. I'm looking at the calendar right now.
yeah. When is y'all's
So
tournament?
we are back there end of August.
End of
End of August.
August. Gotcha. Yeah,
Yeah, we're
that's a fun place. Even
super.
even for the largemouth too. Like, of course, northern places are thought of for smallmouth, but the largemouth fishing's unreal. Just in, I mean, there's no giants like there is down south. But just the quality of fish it seems like is a lot better, and they usually bite. They usually bite a lot better.
I mean, dude, they are so dumb. They are so
Yeah,
dumb.
they are,
I
dude.
mean,
Yeah,
you go out there and I mean, I'm talking about literally 20 feet off target, and you will feel like you're Kevin Van Dam, man. These fish will just chase this bait that swims you down and munch it and eat it and make
yeah,
you feel like you will think that you're ready to compete on the Bassmaster Elites after one day on the Saginaw Bay. That's for sure.
no doubt.
That's for
It's
sure.
yeah, and I really think I think it's because they just don't get the pressure that like lakes around us get. Nobody up there bass fishes, let alone largemouth fishes up there. Um, it's like every time we've been, other than tournament boats, all you see is walleye fishermen, or somebody fishing for perch or something like that. But um, man, that place
Yeah,
is really
I think you got a couple other factors. I agree with what you're saying. I think the ice not out, is that what they call it? But when an ice is over, that's a protection. Mother Nature protects them. And then, but in addition, so that's the second factor to what you're saying about the pressure. But the third, because they know that there's ice coming again, they have a tendency to ignore all threats, and they're going to feed up. And
yeah,
they got a smaller window, so everything up north had ice out. I thought like when it thaws out, and then right before it gets, it's a smaller window of time, and so they use that to feed, and so they ignore a little bit of the threats just in their nature to put on fat.
yeah, that makes sense too. I could definitely agree with that. Um, and kind of adding on to what I said about not getting pressure, they really don't get fish for in the winter. Like, it's kind of icy a little bit up there, so you can't take a boat out. But
Yeah,
I guess. Oh, do you know? Does the river freeze there, like the whole river, or is it parts of the
I don't
river?
I don't know for sure, but I'm going to say that it's going to be one of the last parts to freeze, and it'll be pretty much a bad winter if it does, because there's a lot of movement. Even when it's going to create that lake, it goes up and down a foot or two a day, depending on like
Yeah,
a strong south or north wind, and that's going to create a lot of current in that river. So, not knowing and speaking ignorantly, I would say it probably does, but if it does, they've had a harsh winter. When it's at its harshest, but it may every single year. I don't know. Someone on here may comment and let us know. But with that big water movement, it may get harder. What I'm curious about is, do those largemouth just stay in those reeds when it's like a foot,
I don't know.
or what did those suckers do? You know,
I don't know.
do
That's
they just lay there like a popsicle, like a pickle, just frozen
yeah,
and waiting for it to thaw? I
yeah.
don't
I don't
know.
know. I wonder if there's ever been a fish that got froze up. That'd be crazy. But yeah, I have no idea. I have no idea where they go. Have you ever ice fished?
Well, listen, I tried to ice fish one time, but the problem was it took me too long to cut a hole big enough for me to put my. So I just decided that ice fishing wasn't for me.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, I've never been either. Never attempted it either. But I'd like to go. Seems kind of fun. I feel like it's one of those things. You go and you do it once just to say you do it, and then you come back here, and then it's kind of like a check in the box. Um, but what's going on right now? Getting prepped up for the season. Are you? I mean,
I mean, I'm
as far as like, are you? Do you pre-practice? And I mean, I'm sure you're doing some research on the lakes and stuff like that. I know some people have their opinions on pre-practice and everything, but what's yours?
uh, mine's pretty simple. At some point in life, you got a certain amount of bandwidth, and you got to make sure that you're taking care of responsibilities. And a part of that, I had to X off. I would love to go down and do a lap around Fork before off limits. But we're looking at 40 miles, 30 to 40 mile an hour gusts for the next 2 weeks, 7-degree temperatures. I just don't think it's going to be in the cards. And so I've kind of put that on the back burner of my desires, and I'm just focusing on, getting my business in order. Like I said, mentally, I'm ready to compete. Physically, with the tools and stuff, no, man, I don't have anything rigged and ready. And there's definitely times when I'll spend 2 weeks before the season starts and just get everything perfectly in order. And honestly, I've told myself that I'm not going to allow myself to stress this year about that. I'm going to allow because if things aren't in order and you stress over that, you just you overanalyze too much sometimes. And so I'm very much going to, if it comes down to it and I'm not ready for the first event, I'm very much going to go and be like, here's 5 things that I will do in the winter. It's wintertime fishing. This is what I'm going to bring with me. And this is it. Everything goes out of the boat, and I'm just going to go make it out of those 5 lures. And listen, I've spent a lot of times winter fishing, 4 or 5 years. this has been the least amount that I've fished. I've only fished about 4 days, 3 days this winter.
Wow.
Now, one time I took a guy out crappie fishing, and then in the 2 days that I did fish, I did catch 4 over 8 pounds though, so that was nice.
Yeah,
Got two, so I didn't catch a double digit yet, but I did catch 9.5, and then the guy that was with me caught a 10. But so I've had fun that way, and that felt pretty good. I'm working out a deal with Arc Reels, and I got to go out and test their reels and make sure their hands right and they feel right, and was really excited about how those feel. So that was something that I needed to do, just kind of on the sponsorship side and relationship side. And I've never really had a real deal. I've been
yeah,
provided some stuff in the past and discounts, so that's kind of neat, and just things of that nature that I needed to kind of get down the road. I've been able to pluck on that, but for the most part, if it wasn't for business, I would be just like these other guys. Go down there and I'd spend a couple days, 3 days on each body of water, get grade points, get a look at some trees, get some running lanes. That's the biggest deal, man. Toledo and Fork.
yeah,
If I get down there, I just want to go run for a couple days and make sure I can feel safe running around the lake,
yeah,
because that
for
that
sure.
will eat up so much of your practice time. And on the elites, you just can't go out there unprepared and spend a couple days graphing to figure out how to idle around while everybody else is running around, because they'll find the fish so fast, and then at that point you're kind of banking on luck versus um, being prepared.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been to Texas. I've been to Toledo Bend once, and that was some of the scariest I've ever been running. Just looking down and seeing those giant trees is crazy. But when we have a tournament at Sam Rayburn this year, and we got a guy that makes it. It's like a boat lane chip, and it shows you the boat lanes. You can just download it onto an SD card. So we're gonna test that out and see if it works pretty good. But makes gives you a little peace of mind knowing you're not going in blind after the forest under the water. But what tournament on the NPFL are you most excited for?
MPFL. Where are we going this year? Do I have a schedule somewhere? Let me see where we're going, so I know how to answer that. Okay, so MPFL looks like the first one's Logan Martin. They do have a calendar here that tells me what's going on. The second one is Hartwell. The third one is Pickwick. I haven't found one that I'm excited yet. Hey, there's Saginaw. Then there's St. John's September, and then the last one is Lake of the Ozarks. Man, maybe the first one. Maybe Logan Martin. I've
Logan
never been
Martin.
there. Spotted bass. I need to have a good kickoff to the season. I've got all this stuff coming with everything that I got going on in my life right now, and the chaos of it. It really doesn't line up for a very good event for me mentally. I've always kind of had, so I'm kind of excited to overcome that challenge, man. I'm
Yeah,
kind of excited to get down there, not know where I'm going, not know what I'm doing, put the boat in the water, and then just get all the demons out of my head, fight with everything that I got, prove everybody wrong about, me having such a bad year last year, and get back to throwing some punches at the fish. And so I'm going to say Logan Martin, but it may not have anything to do with the lake itself, but just the timing of the event.
gotcha. I like it. I like the mentality going in it swinging for sure. Kind of, you mentioned last season. Kind of talk to us a little bit about that. Um, just give us a rundown. I know the nickname the Underdog. Tell us why you have that nickname.
It's because my favorite underwear is Scooby Doo underwear, and that's the under and the dog.
Under the dog.
No. Oh no, dude. Listen, that's how I feel. I feel like an underdog right now. I did really well for about 4 years, had a pretty good run, and qualified for the elites. And then my rookie year, life came at me really hard, and I failed to be a good fisherman last year, and I came in 100th place in the angler of the year. And statistically, you are not going to fish 100th place and then come back and be someone special on the elites. It just doesn't happen. No one's ever that I know. No one's ever done it. And if they have, we're talking about a very small percentage over the amount of anglers that have fished. And so, therefore, I am the underdog. I am fighting the stats. Statistically speaking, I should not make it next year. I should not make it the following third year. And so, I can keep my head down. I can keep crying about it. I can whine. I can complain. I can make videos about how I'm, and I can do all this, or I can man up, grab myself by the bootstrap, as they say, pick myself up, quit making excuses. And you know what? It makes me feel good. I've always loved being a little bit of an underdog. I've always done really well in life if I have a little bit of chip on my shoulder. And I've been as polite as I can to people that have attacked me, and I've done everything I can to not be harmful back, and to the point where I've allowed myself to kind of get depressed about it. And you know what? I'm saying, hey, all right, I'm still going to be polite, but hey, listen, yeah, I'll take it. I'm the underdog. I'm beat down. I'm the bottom, but watch out. I'm still dangerous, man. I can still bite. Like, don't get it twisted. You look right over me. Don't interview me. Don't do it. Do whatever you want to do. But when you start seeing me, don't come up and start being nice to me afterwards just because I got a little bit of good results. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so yeah, I got a little chip on my shoulder. That's
There
what the
you go.
underdog is.
Yeah, the underdog. I like it. I like it. Um, what what do you think kind of gives you more of the confidence going into this season? Where do you think that kind of stems from? I know we talked about it a little bit, but
Yeah. Oh, I don't know, man. There's probably a balance a little bit between confidence, overconfidence, and hysteria. Like, maybe I'm a little crazy. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe I just tapped into that side that says, "Hey, man, this is fight or flight." Like, crazy, a little loco to go through with this thing. So I just tapped into that. Now I think that it has a lot to do with looking back in your life, taking a deep breath, and realizing, dude, listen, I'm 41 years old, but I've been through a lot of things in life. I've been through multiple deaths in the family. I've been on my own at a young age. I was about as homeless as you can get at a certain point, but I was never down or out, never on the streets. I had a $300 Chevy Sprint full of tools and loaded and worked. Never had to beg, borrow, or steal. Like, got married at a young age, had a 19-foot travel trailer, water, no air conditioner. My sister-in-law moved in with her three kids, and I've only been married for a couple months. My parents lost their house when I was like 22, 23. I bought a place for them by that time. My father-in-law passed away, and I took care of my mother-in-law. And so I didn't fish until I was 27 years old. From like 19 to 27, my wife didn't even know that I liked to fish. My first word was fish. So because all I did was take care of my family, and I was a man amongst boys at that time in life, to be honest with you. And so I've been blessed to have the opportunity to get back in the fishing world. I never thought that I would be able to become a professional fisherman. I love fishing. Is my first word. I was as big a fishing nut as you are at a young age, and that's why I love to visit with you and see, because it just reminds me of that inner me, that inner you. That's all I am, is just a grown version of you that has an opportunity, because I've spent the last 20 something years of my life working hard to be able to have this opportunity. And so that's where it comes from, man. It comes from experience. It comes from knowing I've been down and out. I've been beat up. I've been at the bottom. There was a time in my life when I was actually played soccer on, the ODP program is Olympic Development Program. It's like basically like a junior Olympic team. And I played overseas in England for a summer. I won different state championships and regional championships, and I played in a lot of different sports, but I was a big time soccer player. And then there was
wow,
a time at 14 that I had, two knee surgeries, and I was out for an entire year. And I went from being the fastest kid on the field to like a little chubby kid, and actually kind of short, and always. And then I got kicked off my team and had to rebuild. And I rebuilt, and by the time I was 17, I was back on that same team that I was earlier. So I've had hard knocks in life, and what I mean. I've been there. I've been next to family members that have overdosed and that have died, and I've been through my own issues with alcohol and drugs and stuff at a young age, and then I've been able to see redemption through my faith in Christ, and I've been able to apply that to my life, and so I've had these, and then I realized that when you're going through a chaotic part of your life, uh, it's not me that matters. It's the things that. So my faith somewhere else. The importance of what I'm doing isn't about like my actual success. And I have, even just recently, I've allowed that thought of my lack of success to, like, it means something, and stroke my ego the wrong way, and that's where the depression comes on, because you're not focused on the things that are important. Like, you're not focused on the faith that actually life is actually about. So when you ask me where my stability and stuff comes, it's from getting my priorities straight, getting my heart right, getting focused on the things that are important, and looking back at the challenges that I've had in life. And I fought the bear, man. I fought the lion. I've won these battles before, and so this is just another one of those things, man. That's what I'm going to do. It's just about centering and grounding myself and getting focused on what the prize is.
Just another battle going
It's another
into.
battle.
Yeah, I mean, man, that's a pretty cool story. Pretty cool story. But sounds like you're going into it with your head up, and man, you're like top of the list now. Who I'm watching this season. I'm excited to see how everything shakes out for sure. Um, man, that was touching.
Oh,
That's great, man. I really wish this one would have been live because I love when people, they get on, they throw comments and ask questions. That's why I do like doing the live over the recording. But weather and kind of hard to control that.
well, line up the questions, pump you full of questions, and if people like this and want to see more of me, I'm just a phone call away. Presley's got my number. Give me 101. Don't throw no softballs at me though. Like, give me some hard questions. I also like to talk fishing. You know that, right? I mean, I like to talk about punching a green fish in the face. That's what I like to do. So
Oh yeah, I mean,
we can
you
talk
are a
about that
Christian
too.
too.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, drop the questions in the comments. Uh, we'll see if we can come up with, or John will see if he can come up with some good answers. Nobody wants to ask me any questions. Uh, so what did you think about fishing both trails last season, the NPFL and the Elite Series? Was it? I mean, I'm sure that's a busy schedule. I mean, it's a busy schedule just fishing one trail, but two. I mean, that's got to be a lot. Was it? Is it stressful, or do you enjoy the kind of the stressful nature of it, or what do you think about having all of that going on?
Well, I did not fish both trails last year.
Okay.
I fished in 2021. I fished the MPFL only
Okay.
and did really well. And then going into 2022, there was a little bit of, the MPFL had some issues with not being able to perform in the championship, and there's some uncertainty in the air, if you will. And so I knew I needed to be have some kind of platform to be able to promote the company that I owned at that time and that I was working for. And so I signed up for the opens, not knowing what was going to happen. So I fished in 2022. I fished the MPFL and 9 opens. And first year in the MPFL, I think I finished fourth in AOI. Second year, which is 2022, I finished third in AOI, and then I finished of well, I was the 6 man in for the opens to qualify for the Bassmaster Elites. The overall, so I fished all 9. I qualified in the overall. I didn't qualify in one division. So 2023, I'd like, I'd like to fish a little bit more, and I love the MPFL, and I'm connected to them emotionally. I feel like it's like my home, but there was some conflicts of interest between the two. They were overlapping each other, and I just wasn't at the position where like a Patrick who put his money up and then didn't show up for. I wasn't in that position. Didn't think it was so. 23. I just fished the elites, and towards the end of the season, when I knew that I needed to get my head back on straight, like I felt like I need to get out of this rut that I was in. I jumped in the remaining 4 or 5 opens because
Gotcha.
they had some guys fall out. So that's how I ended up fishing, and I ended up catching a couple top tens. I think I got 2 top tens. I got When You Fall, Oklahoma, and then Harris. Remember the 2 favorite legs? Like,
Yep. There
so
you
I
go.
got 2 top tens. I got to get on Fox Sports at the end, get a third on and so that felt really good. But the decision in 2024 to fish both, it may seem really crazy, and sometimes, man, it does seem really crazy. But there's a couple reasons. One, I want to do everything I can for my sponsors. I want to do everything I can to promote my brand, my own brand. The difference between me and a lot of other anglers is I've got my own skin in the game, man. I've got my own investments. I got my own skin in the game when it comes to save more. And so out there, putting myself out there, and then the sponsors that work with me, they get to reap that benefit. They get to reap that reward for doing that because, like a lot of the other guys, they're just using other people's money. I'm using my own money to do this. So that's one thing. But truly, I really want to have a successful 2024 on the elites. And I ran into Ish Monroe at Lake of the Ozarks at a gas station. We had this conversation, and he encouraged me to only fish the elites. And listen, I took his advice to heart, and I really thought about it. I did is I really kind of brainstormed at the end of the season. I imagined myself going through the preparation and all this, only focusing on the elites. And I saw myself, and I felt the anxiety of me hyper focusing on these events and like pre-planning how I was going to fish, and then I realized that that's how I've always not done well if I hyper focus. The events that I've done really well, I've been relaxed. I've let it come to me. I've been able to fish them. I find out the patterns of the fish, and then I build off of that to catch bigger fish during the tournament. And it's way easier said than done. It takes for me, it's taken a lot. I'm a slow learner. It's taken me a lot of years of experience to be able to build those instincts and to be able to know with confidence that I'm on the right kind of fish. And so that is one of the reasons why I decided that I want to go ahead and fish the NPFL as well. My heart's there, along with the fact that my heart's there, and I'm a supporter of the NPFL and what they've done. If it wasn't, I never even made it to the elites. I never would have even thought that I was, on that track. It was fisherman. I kind of dipped my toes in the NPFL to see, hey, where am I at the national level? I wasn't expecting to pop off a win at the first event and a win at the third event, win two of the first three events. I wasn't expecting that. So it helped build a lot of confidence, and it built sponsorship portfolio, and it built a lot of things. So, in some ways, deep down inside, man, I'm just one of those loyal guys that feels like I owe it to them, because my heart's just attached to them. So, going back and if you're going to use that platform to not pre-fish at all, not going to pre-fish one NPFL event, and that's an intentional thing. It's not because I think it's less than or anything like that. It's because I want to force myself to be a more instinctual fisherman. And I don't want to prepare so much in advance. I want to show up, use my instincts, and keep that part of me alive. And I want to prove myself. And I want to know whether I'm sharp or I'm not sharp or what I need to do. So that way, when the next elite comes up, I've got, if I finish top 10s, confidence. If I'm not, then I'm at home, I'm working on that, finding out what's going on before I show up to an elite and stumble around. That's the theory, the thought behind fishing both events, both tours.
Gotcha. I like hearing the mindset, or I guess kind of the thoughts of fishing both. That's interesting. Forcing yourself to kind of fish off your instincts. I don't know if I don't know. I always look back at like my tournament results and everything. It's like if I just pull up and fish a local tournament, sometimes I do really good, and sometimes I don't do really good. So I don't know if I'm not real sure yet if I'm a big practice guy or not. But I think I'd be more of a big practice guy. But that is really cool that you're fishing both. I think that'll be definitely fun to watch. But are you going to be practicing? Did the elites get 3 or 4 days for practice?
So we get 3 days. There are 3 back-to-back events this year, so that's a total of 6 of the 9 events. The first event of the back-to-backs, and all 3 times, we'll have a Wednesday off media day. So we practice for 3 days, and we got the Wednesday off.
Okay.
The second tournament out of that back-to-back, there is no off day, if I remember right. So just 3 days of practice, and then you roll right into tournament day the next day. So what happens for me, I'm just not the best at that system because I do a lot of just trashing my boat in practice. And so what ends up happening to me the last day of practice is I got to sit down for half the day and organize and clean and put new line and stuff on. So I have not perfected that part of my game at all. I need to do a better job. I think a lot of guys do a system like maybe they practice like in at lunchtime they'll rig a rod or two, and then at night before they come in they'll sit out in their boat and they'll rig rods. And so by the time the practice is over, and they'll do that every day of practice. So by the time practice is over, boom, they can practice all the way till dark. And that's what you'll see on the elites, man, more than anywhere else. I mean, 30 minutes before sunup, everybody's in the water. 30 minutes till sun's after, everybody's getting off the water. I mean, there is not a second. Not a second. Practice day is treated as if it was an event. And these guys are so good at check-ins at 3:00. You're looking like, where's all the boats? Like 2:58, 2:50. Like down to the last second, every single guy. Man.
Yep.
They are making casts to the very minute, every single one of them. Yep.
That's crazy. I can see that. There's like a minute till check in. Everybody just all these boats just swarm the check in. I saw a post, and I think I've seen several people repost it that Brandon Paulding made about some notes that he had wrote down about how he practices and like his thoughts on practice, and it was like kind of to sum it up, your tournament. I mean, your practice should be just like your tournament. I mean, every second counts because you're working towards knowledge for the upcoming tournament, and um, that's I don't doubt it one bit that everybody's in there 30 minutes before the sun comes up and they're off 30 minutes after the sun goes down. I mean, when you think about it, it's kind of that is their job. Fishing is your job, and so I can definitely see where they would want to make every second count. But um, speaking of the NPFL and the Elite Series, what are your favorites about the NPFL, and what are your favorites about the Bass? Like kind of the pros and cons of them both.
Hmm. I haven't thought much about comparing the two at all. And I don't know that I don't like the mixed. I think the NPFL, the drive-through weigh-in's pretty cool. You know, getting to sit in your truck and listen to the weigh-in. It's pretty neat to get to show off your sponsors and stuff with it and see the crowd right there at every event. But I honestly, I also love being in the bag line. I did not love being in the bag line this year. I got to be honest. I got to be very honest. I was probably not the friendliest guy. People were. I didn't make I didn't make any friends on the Elite Stage. I mean, just didn't make friends. Like I just wasn't in a good place. It was kind of like, yep, they got big bags here, and this is like extra torture. I'd rather. But it's always good to when you're in a good mood, get in the bag line to hear the guys' stories and stuff. Talk fishing. The ones that will talk fishing. Some guys are going to throw, stories that have nothing to do with real fishing because they're just not wanting to tell you what's going on. And then there's a couple guys that like to talk fishing. Um, I enjoy on the NPFL that I can room with some buddies of mine that I've known, for a few years now. We've roomed together and we'll just share everything and communicate in a real more fun, loving manner than things are so much more serious on the elites, or they were for me this last year. And of course, my roommate Bradley Hallman, he's retired, so it's just not that part is different on the elites. There's not as much communication on that side. Everything's a lot more isolated. So you got to be, mentally strong when it comes to that. More of a loner, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
so, but the big stage, big bass, big dreams that the Bassmaster brings to the table, the stage is just it's incredible, man. There's nothing in comparison. I mean, we have events that you know thousands of people, or I don't know how many thousands, but 2 to 10,000 at different times at different events, just weighing in, just cheering you on at takeoff and stuff. So, the hype around it and is the prestige of it is, and then the opportunity to potentially qualify for a classic next year. That's awesome. That's something I've never done. I've never qualified for a classic. I fished a Forest Wood Cup, but I've never fished a classic.
Okay. So, does the NPFL doesn't have like a classic type event? They just have a championship, right?
Yeah, that is their classic, their championship. They don't have a big expo and a big blowout. And this year's the first one, the very first one that they're going to do is going to be in the spring of next year. So their championship will be, I think it's on Amistad, and it's going to be during one of my other kind of events. I have the counter there. So obviously it's from the guys that qualified for it from this last year in 2023. So it'll be their first championship that they're able to pull off
Sweet.
and perform.
Yeah, that's awesome. The classic is kind of like, I mean, I know they say it every time, like it is the most coveted tournament ever. Like there's just nothing that kind of, I mean, you just can't really stack anything up to it. Just going to
No.
the weigh-ins and everything, and we try to go to them if they're not too far away. But man, they're just so cool. Getting to watch weigh-in, and all these people come just to watch, just to see these guys hold up their fish and to hear about their day and everything. It's so awesome to see. And the expos, that's just a plus. Um, do you, let me ask you this: do you see yourself having a classic expo in the future with your with your business?
Oh, I'll be there this year. Yeah,
Will you really?
we got a 20 by 20 booth. I'll
Awesome.
be set up. Yep. Hmm.
There we go. That's awesome, dude. What about the this is kind of a long shot. What about the East Tennessee Fishing Expo?
No, man. I mean, I got a whole list of expos, and I heard it's awesome. I've got it on the list, man.
Yeah.
Uh, but man, my bandwidth to get all that done in time um, is just it's a little bit of the moment right now. But maybe next year, something like that. Uh, I love the old shows, man. I love running shows. My birthday is February 3rd, and every year around that time, that weekend is the Tulsa Boat Show. And it used to be the Tulsa Boat Sports and Tackle Show. And so they had tons of tackle. So every year for my birthday, that was my wish. That was my birthday. Just take me to the tackle show, man. And I
Yep.
remember being 13 years old and I was in a cast, my ankle cast. And I remember Jimmy Houston being on stage and sitting in these chairs while he's on his stage and he's doing these spinnerbait skipping tricks and he's casting roll casting underneath all the chairs and he's making the spinnerbait loop around and going to people's purses and he's doing all this cool stuff and I had my leg propped up on the stage, man, because like you know I needed to keep it up, right? Doctor's orders, and he came
Yep.
over there and kicked my leg off the stage, joking around, not
No,
like
he
hard, you
did.
know what I mean? Just kicked it,
Yeah.
and so Jimmy Houston actually ended up signing cast. And like I had just got it on because I got my cast. I'm like, the first thing I want to go is like and so like I didn't let anybody else sign that cast. Like everybody else got all their friends sign their cast, you know. No, it
Yeah.
was like it was the Jimmy Houston cast. Like, so
That's awesome, dude.
I've got a love for the old expos, and I wish that the industry allowed that to be more part of what we do. But really, man, it's so much more of a social media world now that an angler has to make a choice time and and investment in time and gas and money and sometimes it is important, don't get me wrong, or do you if you took that same time and money and put it into building content, what would give you a greater return? And really, unfortunately, right now the content side of things is where so we have decided to invest into where we're going to become a content machine, save more outdoors, John Soukup fishing. You're going to see just post after post after post after post. Some funny, some inspirational, some motivational, some product, some educational. We're just going to put it out there, and we've already started. I mean, I think we're 2 or 3 weeks into a constant amount of content of different kind. We already had a couple of them kind of go viral. Got a 250,000 views on a couple, on one of them, 100,000 on another. That's decent for me. I'm not the biggest dog in the world when it comes to that, but I'm planning on being right there, and so that's what we're doing is courses and building content.
Sweet, sweet. Yeah, the East Tennessee Fishing Show. I've actually never got to go. It's only 2 hours away, but I think I've been fishing for 6 or 7 years now, and every single time we had a tournament that weekend. So I've never been able to go, but this year we're getting to go for a couple days. So I'm excited for that. So you should definitely. You said that was on the calendar. Definitely look into that one for next year. They say it's pretty. I mean, it's like a classic just without the tournament. It's supposedly
I've heard it's one of the biggest ones. I have heard that.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's like I think it's like four stories of a building or something. I don't know. It's big. It's big. I know that. Um, so being a professional angler, how much of your time gets devoted to doing social media and content filming and stuff like that? Because I know that's a big part of it too.
If I wasn't running an actual business where I had employees and inventory and all the stuff that I've got to deal with, and I would say every minute of my day would be content and fishing and practicing if it wasn't for that. But
Wow.
because I have business and stuff, that gets in the way. So every other waking minute is focused on that. And I think I've built like 60 videos. I've got listen, I've got sponsor requirements. Every one of my contracts has something in there about social media. And unfortunately, they didn't think I did good enough last year, and I lost several sponsors and some big ones that I don't want to lie. I'd like to have back. And so um, And of course, listen, man, the way the world bounces, they didn't tell me early in the season. They told me in December, I'm like, have to restart and start all over. And and so, I'm going to put myself out there to where, I'm not going to hear that again. No one's ever going to tell me I didn't do enough. I'm just not that. I've never heard that in my life and never going to hear it again. So,
Yeah. Yeah. So do you ever go and do like filming for other companies like your sponsors, or do you just post stuff about them? Like I know there's some people like Tackle Warehouse and Wired to Fish and stuff like that. Or, the Yozuri camera crew will come hop in your boat. I don't think you're a Yozuri guy, but just first name that popped in my head. But like, or say Arc. Will Arc's camera crew come and jump in your boat? You go do a day of filming, or how exactly does that work?
so each brand is different. Some brands have what they call a media day, and they'll invite you out and they'll pay your expenses, and you'll go out for a day or two or three. And the cameraman will be there and they'll do interviews and they'll build a bunch of media and they'll do a lot of content that they can spread out the entire year. That's neat. I really haven't been involved with too much of those activities, but I'm aware of it. Some people, it's just kind of like uh, when I fish on the MPFL or the elites, they've got a thing called a media pass. So like a sponsor can come and ride along during practice, and then they can shoot content and things like that. Me personally, I am undertaking all that myself. We're photoing, videoing, editing, building content, and we're sending raw content and giving our sponsors opportunity to download into that and pull that content out. So I'm uh, I'm aggressive. I'm being proactive is the word that I'm looking for,
Yeah,
and giving them more than what they've asked for. That's the goal.
good deal. Sweet. So I know it's changed since fishing kind of first became a thing, but social media is such a big part of it. And I mean, you got hear all the pros talk about it. It's just something you have to do now. And it's kind of crazy. You said all of your time goes to thinking about posting and making content and stuff like that. It's just such a big part of fishing. But do you think that social media being introduced into the fishing world, and I guess there's really not any stopping it, do you think it's hurt fishing as like a like an entertainment, or do you think it's made it better, or no in between?
Hmm. I think there's some extreme negatives and then there's some positives. The positive being social media as a whole, including YouTube, if you want to include that in there, is given um, an education and information overload to the youth. Um,
Oh, you're
I'm
back.
pausing for a second. So
Okay.
the education is something that it helps the learning curve for the younger anglers to grow, have a greater learning curve. What's taken me 40 years to gain, they have the opportunity to gain, and besides time on the water, but in 20 years, they got half the time, the learning curve to be able to be out there and compete. So that's a positive side of things. You got a little bit more opportunity to control your destiny. So that's positive. As hard as you want to work at it, you can build and control your destiny, what you're doing, like what you're doing right now, Presley. You don't have to wait until somebody comes out and tries to say, "Hey, I want to give you a TV show." This opportunity that's probably never going to happen. You can actually control your destiny. Spend your time right now. Make sure you're getting your good grades, and then in your off time, like build, 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 knowing that it's going to grow into something. You're controlling your destiny. Every angler's got that opportunity if they want to. Now, the negative sides, I think that we live in a world that is broken and people don't know how to control themselves. And they use the platform of social media to really create an antagonistic environment and to attack people. And and nasty, egotistical people. They get followed like Jerry Springer followers. And there's a lot of people out there, the majority of them out there that have huge followings that I've ever met in person are not good people, not the kind of people you want to be around in life. They're the backstabbers, haters, like whisperers. They're people that don't do good things, and they're very much just all about themselves. And so we've got a huge string of majority of the population of the youth that use those people as their idols, and they follow those people. And back in the day when I was a kid, Charles Barkley, when he was in his heyday being a basketball player, they asked him about being being an idol, and or I forgot exactly the word they looked up to him, like kind of like an idol. And he said, I'm not. Don't use me as an example at all. And there was a bunch of controversy about why he said that. Well, like these guys nowadays in the fishing world, through their social medias, their big ego, and they know that the following gets them the money they need from the sponsors, and they think that just because they got 100,000 people following them that are cheering them on for every negative thing they do, that they're in the right, and they're leading bad examples to some of the youth. So that side of things, I mean, my kids aren't able to touch social media. I don't want to touch social media. Not even allowed them to see it. I got a 16-year-old son. I got a 14-year-old daughter. I got a 10-year-old daughter and a 2-year-old. They're not. I don't think it's healthy for them. And so side of things. And when I say social media, I'm talking about the broad, like everything. Go with everything. Like it's allowed in different spurts. It's controlled, but there's just not free reign on it. So I see where that is creating an atmosphere inside the fishing world that's very tumultuous, and people aren't given helping hands as much as what needs to be. They're kind of taking and taking and taking and taking. And I think that I really do believe that social media is a part. It's bringing that negative side of our nature out. It's feeding that a lot. So I say all that to say that I've also made the decision. See, I went on a 3-month cleanse from social media just recently, and I got my mind right. I realized that it's a necessary evil inside the fishing world for me. And so I'm going to do everything I can to control my own narrative, speak good, do things that are right, man. Do every post. It's probably going to happen on this, man. I do some kind of interview, and next thing you know, I get some hater in there. I don't know what they don't like about me. I guess I don't know if it's the going bald and they can see that going through my head. I don't know what it is, but I definitely have. I guess I'm one of those polarizing people that like you either love me or you hate me. So the haters come out and they get some kind of comment about how there's no way that fish I caught was 10 pounds. It's definitely 8.5, and I'm a liar and I'm exaggerating, or blah 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 blah. We'll see. There'll be a hater in the comments. Those kind of people, like I've avoided. I've just been blocking in the past and stuff. And I've kind of had to get my mind right to just go. I'll have fun with them. Like I'll play with them a little bit. Like, and and they're so hypocritical, man. I love calling them out. Like I had a guy the other day like calling me out on one of my fish tips that I dropped. On one of my fish tips, like trying to teach people how to actually use, and educating people about how to throw a jerkbait in the winter. And here's a location where you can kind of go do this, right? And so he calls me out because he's like saying that I'm, selling this. Meanwhile, you go on his YouTube and the past 6 videos that he's got, it tells the exact lake he's at. I can click on the boat and I know exactly what piece of grass he's at. So I'm like, yeah, nice. You're like jealous much? You're a hypocrite. Well, guess what they do? Then they take it down, or like they double down, and then they follow you around and troll you. And that side of stuff, man, is the side of things that, Presley, you just in the high school world, I don't know how you do it. Like, and here's the deal: those guys, like, they rarely come out with their real name. There's some guy that's making a fake account, and like he's got all these things to say, and he's going to try to do some things that damage your reputation or whatever. But they never got the true facts, and they do whatever they can. They're just doing that because it builds them up. Like the following and stuff like that. So, that's a part that you got me on. You got me running down the road when you ask about what do I think about social media, man.
Yeah,
it's like it's a hard balance, man, because I don't want to become that guy. And the more that you engage with that, you kind of become, you take on those same characteristics. So I got that side of myself, and I got to kind of control it and play with it, have a little fun, and then move on. But I don't want to run from it like I've done in the past. I've got to like face it head on, because my goal is to be in the fishing industry, and I know that I need to be able to do this, manage it in the right way that I feel like's right, and yeah, have success.
Had a long run about social media, but hey, and that's
little rant.
Yeah, dude, that's what make these fun. I mean, people like to hear the raw side of things, what it's really like. So that's what we're doing here on the Bass Lane. We're just dropping the facts. Well, Mr. John, I'm not going to keep you too much longer, but if I ask everybody this every single podcast, if you had one piece of advice, it could be life advice, it could be going out, your favorite restaurant advice, it could be fishing advice. and you can think about it because most people have to.
Don't
But
have to.
what would it be?
Oh man, it's find the Lord, man. Find Jesus in your life.
There you
Find him,
go.
follow him, hold on to him, hang on, do everything you can. Don't let go. No matter how many times you stumble and fall and make a hypocrite out of yourself, how bad you look. Like it's not about how well you do in this life. It's about how much you hold on to him, how much you follow, and just hold on. Don't let go. Keep on holding. And that's the advice, man. Anything that's ever happened to me that's been good in my life has been connected to my Lord and Savior and to God and everything He's provided for me. So I know that that's the same opportunities for everybody that's out there. And that's what we got to do. That's where we are supposed to be helpers to one another.
That's right. That's the best answer yet, no doubt. I like it. That's man, that's I feel like that's probably the biggest thing that's helped me is of course I'm not perfect and you're not perfect and nobody's perfect. But, just having that faith in Jesus, it's not faith in social media. It's not faith in, that next fish biting, but it's the only, stable thing, the only firm foundation out there. And it's comforting. But that's definitely the best answer anybody's given me on here. So congratulations, you got the number one spot so far.
No, don't say I'm not perfect too loud. My wife thinks I'm perfect.